Alhamdulillah wa kafa wa salamun ala ibadi alladhina istafa amma ba'd. This evening we look at the life of Sayyiduna Bilal radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. His father's name was Rabah and his mother's name was Hamama. And he was from a place called Sarat. His mother was a slave lady of African origin from Abyssinia, and therefore he had also grown up into slavery. In fact, he was owned by the Banu Abdiddar. There were some orphans from the family who owned him, and they were then advised to give him over to Umayyah bin Khalaf, who was one of the leaders of the Quraysh. He was roughly 37 years old when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had announced the Nubuwah. And he was amongst those who accepted the deen of Islam, the foremost, the forerunners, and those who had taken the first step in this regard. When he had accepted Islam, Umayyah bin Khalaf and others started to torment him and to torture him. Now, amongst those who had accepted Islam was obviously the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who had announced the deen, and you had Sayyidina Abu Bakr. Then you had the likes of Sayyidina Suhaib, Sayyidina Khabbab, Sayyidina Ammar, as well as his mum, Sayyida Sumayyah. Sayyidina Abu Bakr had his family who supported him, whilst Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was obviously supported by his uncle. But the others who we mentioned, the likes of Sayyidina Suhaib, Sayyidina Khabbab, Sayyidina Bilal, they had no one to support them. And that is why the leaders of the kuffar took advantage of them. What they would do, they would take them out onto the desert plain when the sun was beating down at its hottest. They would leave a rock there to boil up, and then they would throw the rock down on the body of Sayyidina Bilal. They would put armament on him and heat it up and let it boil or melt his body and his skin. And what they would say to him, that say that you believe in Lat and Uzza. They wanted him to acknowledge Lat and Uzza, the names of their idols, while he would say that my tongue cannot say that Ahad, Ahad, the one. They continued to torture Sayyidina Bilal like this for a long period of time, until one day Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was walking past. And he asked the question that how long are you going to continue doing this? So Umayyah said that you're talking so much, why don't you buy his freedom? So Sayyidina Abu Bakr asked, how much? So he said an amount which was 9 ounces of gold. And he said an amount which he thought was a high amount to deter Sayyidina Abu Bakr. So Sayyidina Abu Bakr said, yes, it's a done deal, I will purchase him. And Sayyidina Abu Bakr then purchased him. After purchasing him, Umayyah says, hey, but you paid a lot for him. If you had to offer me even 1 ounce of gold, I would have sold him to you for just 1 ounce. You overpaid. So Sayyidina Abu Bakr said, even if you had wanted 100 ounces of gold, I would have paid you 100 ounces of gold to get his freedom. And that is why Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu would say that Abu Bakr Sayyiduna a'taqa Bilalan Sayyidina. Abu Bakr is our master, and he freed Sayyidina Bilal, who is our master. That was the reverence, that was the respect that Sayyidina Umar showed to Sayyidina Bilal. And the issue of racism that we have across the globe up until this day, Sayyidina Bilal was the example that there was no virtue for black over white or for white over black. Everyone is equal. It is the one who is the most virtuous in the sight of Allah, meaning because of his good deeds, that has the highest rank. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam chose Sayyidina Bilal for the high position of calling out the adhan. And throughout Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's life, he was the one calling the adhan. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam chose him as his treasurer. He would look after the finances. One day, when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came into the room where the wealth was being stored, and he saw a heap of some wheat, and he asked, "Oh Bilal, what is this?" So Sayyidina Bilal says, "I've kept this for you, O Nabiullah, and for some of your guests that may come." And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "Anfiq ya Bilal, wa la takhsha ala dhil arshi iqlala." Spend, O Bilal, and do not fear poverty from the owner of the throne. Meaning even that little, don't keep it back, spend. And they continue to spend. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam once said, "Laqad ukhiftu fillah," that I have been frightened in the path of Allah like no one else. وَلَقَدْ أُوذِيتُ فِي اللَّهِ, and I have been harmed and hurt in the path of Allah like no one else. And then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, وَلَقَدْ أَتَتْ عَلَيَّ ثَلَاثُونَ مِنْ بَيْنِ يَوْمٍ وَلَيْلٍ, that 30 days pass by, وَمَالِي وَلِبِلَالٍ طَعَامٌ يَأْكُلُهُ ذُو كَبِدٍ, that myself and Bilal had no food to eat that a human could eat. Meaning there was no hot food. There was only like water and dates, no cooked meal, nothing that could be prepared for 30 consecutive days. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam speaks about his own condition and the condition of Sayyidina Bilal, that this was the sacrifice that was made for the deen. When Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was taken on Mi'raj, or it may have been in a vision or a dream that he had seen, when he was taken on a tour of Jannah, and while he was moving around in Jannah, he heard the footsteps of Sayyidina Bilal radiyallahu anhu. And when he wakes up in the morning and he sees Sayyidina Bilal, and he says, "Oh Bilal, I heard your footsteps in Jannah before me. You had entered before me. What is it that you do that has granted you that position?" So Sayyidina Bilal says, "I can't think of anything." And then after pondering for a while, he says, "Oh Nabi of Allah, perhaps it is the fact that whenever my wudu breaks, I immediately refresh it. And when I refresh it, I perform 2 rakats tahiyatul wudu." Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, that is the very action that is granted you this position. When it was the time of the conquest of Mecca, at that time, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sent Sayyidina Ali into the Kaaba and into the presence of the Masjid al-Haram to destroy all the idols. After the Baytullah was cleansed, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam then instructs Sayyidina Bilal to jump on top of the Kaaba and call the adhan. In this way, Sayyidina Bilal is honored, that he is on that high position. Also what we learn from this is that the Kaaba itself, while we honor it, is not the objective of our worship. If the Kaaba is removed tomorrow, na'udhu billah, then we will still continue facing in that same direction. Allah is showing us the position of this great man, that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had lifted him to that position. There were those who found problem with that, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam rebuked them very, very severely. After the demise of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Sayyidina Bilal found it very hard that during the life of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he would say, "Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah," and then he would say, "Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah," that I bear testimony that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was there and responding to the adhan. And after the demise of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Sayyidina Abu Bakr asked him to give the adhan again. And he then responded by saying that, "O Amirul Mu'mineen, O Khalifatu Rasulillah, if it is that you freed me for your own sake, then I'm obliged to give the adhan. But if it is that you freed me, when you freed me for the sake of Allah, then do not oblige me to give the adhan and allow me to leave the city, as it is too difficult for me to continue living in Madinatul Munawwara, because every moment I'm reminded of the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam." Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu allows Sayyidina Bilal to leave. He said that he then moves into Syria, into Sham, and he lives there until the end of his life, where he passes away at the age of just around 60 or more. It is said that he is buried either in Damascus or in Halab. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with this great Sahabi. Wa sallallahu ta'ala ala khairi khalqi Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.